Is there going to be a real estate crash? That is the question on everybody's mind. If you look on YouTube, every video is about the impending crash that's coming. If you Google, is real estate going to crash? I just tried to Google, what is the definition of a real estate crash? So I could tell you how much real estate needed to go down to fit in the definition of a real estate crash. And you can't, there's no information on Google. It only tells you about what a housing bubble is and how we're in a bubble and then when happens when the bubble bursts. So everywhere on the internet that you look, everybody's telling you there's going to be a real estate crash, but I think everybody's asking the wrong question about whether real estate's going to crash. I just looked at Google Trends and I looked at the term, the search term, will real estate prices go up? And I looked at the definition. I looked for the search term, will real estate prices go down? I'll pop in a screenshot here so you can see how many people are Googling, will real estate prices go down? It looks like this. How many people Google, will real estate prices go up? Nobody's Googling are real estate prices going to go up because everybody wants real estate prices to go down. Everybody's Googling what they want to happen instead of trying to look for the answers of what's really going to happen. Today, I've got two more articles, one from Yahoo Finance, one from Market Watch. I'm going to show you what they say about whether there's going to be a housing crash or not. I'm going to show them to you right now.
Shut up and sit down.
Okay, just in case you're new here, this is the retirement mentality. I want to change the way you think about retirement, the way you think about money, the way you think about investing, and hopefully I can change the way you think about the real estate crash because everybody wants there to be a real estate crash. I'm going to get into it right now on my computer here. I've got an article from we'll start with the Yahoo Finance, and the title of it is, Should I Wait for Real Estate Prices to Crash Before I Buy a House? Here are 3 reasons why the housing downturn is nothing like 2008. I'm going to skip just down to the first reason that they give you. I'm not going to read you the whole article. I hate when people read you articles from the internet on YouTube. But reason number 1, lenders stopped being so lax. It says, blame it on the banks. A huge contributor to the housing crisis in 2008 was dicey lending, blah, blah, blah. The Dodd-Frank Act changed all that in 2010. And basically it says that banks required people to put more money down. People were required to have a bigger investment into their real estate, so they had equity going into purchasing a house. And now, because over the past 3 years, real estate prices have appreciated around 20% per year, so people could have 50, 60, 70% equity in their houses if they've been in it for a few years. If they put 10 or 20% down when they bought it, people have too much equity in their houses due to better lending regulations since the 2008 crisis, which makes this nothing like the 2008 crisis. This is something I've been saying for a long time, but now Yahoo Finance is also saying it. Reason number 2, it says homeowners are doing fine. The onset of the pandemic could have been catastrophic for the housing market if millions of homeowners had no choice but default on their loans. It goes in to talk about the forbearance that let everybody put off making their mortgage payments. And it says that it worked by the end of March, the share of mortgage balances 90 days past due remained at 0.5%, a historic low, lower than ever. People 90 days delinquent on their mortgages, which shows that there is not a big chance that there's going to be a ton of foreclosures hitting the market. The forbearance thing has been done for a while, so there's not going to be all these people that were in forbearance because of the pandemic, and now there's going to be a flood of foreclosures. So that's not going to happen. And reason number 3, the article says there's still plenty of supply. It says it's not always as simple as supply and demand, but it almost always is, says this person, Dave Ramsey from the Ramsey Show. I don't know who that is. Ramsey says the major issue in 2008 was the tremendous oversupply because foreclosures went everywhere and the market just froze. Everybody freaked out, the market froze, and all the foreclosures flooded the market back in 2008. In comparison, now there's a huge demand and a shortage of supply. The Federal Reserve efforts to dampen demand by raising interest rates is starting to work. New housing is starting to slowly come down on the market as well. What this guy Ramsey says is that the prices are starting to soften. There's certain markets where they could come down a little bit, but nothing compared to what we saw in 2008. I'll put a link to this article down below. If you go to the actual article, there's a video that pops up at the top of it where they interview Jeff Tucker, Zillow's senior economist, and it's a 7-minute interview with Jeff Tucker where he says that the market is not going to crash. The Zillow senior economist says that he does not see a housing crash coming. The closest thing he says to prices even coming down is that in some of the super hot markets, the Boise, Idaho's, where you had a small market and demand just blew out the roof, and some of these smaller markets like Spokane, like what did I just say, Boise, they weren't big markets to start with, and then all this demand flooded in because of COVID, and there was just no supply, and there was huge bidding wars. He's like, people overpaid in some of those instances. So if those prices start to soften in those areas, it doesn't mean real estate prices are crashing. It means people did overpay in some markets and prices might come back down to reality, but it doesn't mean prices are coming below what market value is. It doesn't mean there's going to be a crash. So if you're waiting for a crash, like you've been telling me that I'm an idiot for the past 3 years, it's not coming. There's not going to be a crash. There's no market indicators pointing to a crash. I'm going to take you now over to another article from July the 6th that I've had open on my computer for a couple days from MarketWatch. Okay, the title of this article over on MarketWatch is Prices May Dip in Some Markets, 5 economists and real estate pros on what to expect from this in-transition housing market. So let's see what these other 5 experts have to say. Okay, the first prediction in this article says that we could have slower home appreciation and potentially higher mortgage rates. Well, we're already seeing that. That's happening right now. It doesn't say anything about a crash. So they have a quote in here from the National Association of Realtors chief economist. His name is Lawrence Yun. He says, with home sales retreating and mortgage rates rising, home prices will slow in the upcoming months. He said by December, year-over-year home price appreciation could be into the mid-single digits, around 4 to 7%. So this guy from the National Association of Realtors, their chief economist, he says we probably will see homes appreciating nationally at a rate between 4 and 7%. Okay, so there's another quote in this article from Jeff Tucker from Zillow, the chief economist over at Zillow, who we just saw in the other article. His quote says, prices are still growing, just not as fast as we've gotten used to seeing over the past 2 years. Prices may dip below today's record highs in some markets later on this year or next year, but buyers shouldn't expect to see home prices dropping to anywhere close to pre-pandemic levels. So they're not going back to where they were before the coronavirus started. Okay, prediction number 2, expect fewer home sales. They say we moved into the heart of vacation season in July and August when buyers and sellers shift priorities away from housing moves. This can sometimes lend itself to a slower market pace, and expect the impact of higher mortgage rates will coincide with the season to result in bigger pullback than usual in sales activity. That is from Realtor.com chief economist Danielle Hale. Okay, and prediction number 3 says buyers will have more homes to choose from. We're starting to see inventory picking up because we're seeing demand level off. So there are starting to be more houses coming onto the market. And so this person's name is Holden Lewis. He is the home and mortgage expert from NerdWallet. And he says the housing shortage was acute for 2 years, beginning in the summer of 2020. Home prices were rising in double-digit percentages year over year, but the number of homes for sale began rising in May, and this trend will continue through July, meaning buyers will notice that they have more choices and more negotiating leverage. But he adds that the high home prices combined with higher mortgage rates are to blame for homes being unaffordable for people. Thus, the buyer who remains in the market will face less competition and have more homes to choose from. So the point of that is, even if supply numbers go up and there's less demand, even though there's less demand and supply is going up, there's still tons of buyers out there. If you go into the comment section of any YouTube video or any article that says that housing is going to crash, and everybody in the comment section is like,
yeah, that's right, housing is going to crash. I've got tons of cash. I've got all my money. I pulled all my money out of the stock market because I'm a genius, and I've got all my money in cash, and I'm going to scoop up all the good deals in the housing market.
So just because it looks like demand is low and housing prices there's more inventory coming on the market, there's tons of people just waiting in the wings for this crash. So if prices dip a little bit, people are going to start to flood back into the market. So that's going to prevent prices from crashing. I think there's still a lot of demand out there, even if it looks like there's starting to be a little bit more supply and everybody's waiting. If there is a dip, people are going to rush back in. So, and the home sellers are still in a good position. They're not in risk of foreclosure. There's nothing making them be forced to sell their homes. So there's nothing that's going to just make prices crash. I keep telling you guys this, but you only want to watch the videos about a crash. As usual, you can disagree with me. leave it down there in the comments and say, you're stupid, Jeff. Housing is going to crash. You've been telling me that for 3 years, and so far I've been right. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you want to learn more about what I think about the housing market, you could watch this. I've got a Florida housing bubble video over here that I speak more specifically about what I think is going to happen in the Florida market, because that's where my expertise is at. That's where I own rental properties. I have my real estate license there. So I watch that market a little closer. So if you want to know what's going on in Florida, go watch this video. Give me a big thumbs up if you found any value. Give me a thumbs down if you think I'm an idiot. Leave me a comment and subscribe to the channel. If you want to tell me that I'm wrong, you're going to need to subscribe so you can say, I told you so when the market crashes. See you in the next video.